Think of something meaningful to you. Have it be a work of art, a piece of literature, poetry, music, a person or a place. Some of you will find it tremendously difficult to describe why this thing is meaningful to you, because its meaning goes beyond mere language. And this is what great art does. Great art points to something beyond us. Great art points to something greater. We find ourselves living in an age of obscurity. Western ideals have been devastated by political ideologies, efforts to redefine morality, distortions of history and culture, and the pervasive ingratitude for the legacy and toil of our forefathers, despite their human shortcomings. The builders, thinkers, authors, artists, and families that sowed the seeds to provide us the fruit we enjoy today are scorned and spat on. I've written a film entitled Poet in a Modern World. It is a story about hope, family, beauty, and tradition. The motif can be reduced to 2 words: choose beauty, as the story explores questions such as, what is beauty? What does a beautiful life look like? And how can one continually choose beauty in a world that is defying it? The 2 protagonists of the film, John, a grieving middle-aged art instructor, and Shane, his disoriented young pupil, find themselves at friction with modernity. A mentorship blossoms between them as they evade the world's ugliness by living in the realm of their imagination. Shane reproaches his family of Philistines, and John pines for the family he lost. One gazes into a future of possibilities, the other gazes into the ineradicable past. The 2 assist each other in their spiritual journeys and eventually reconcile themselves with reality, choosing beauty despite every temptation to abandon it. John finds himself disillusioned with his impervious student body, who fail to understand his attempts to teach the West's great cultural heritage. He is accused of proselytizing and is forced to resign by the college administration, who cave to the clamor of protesters. The question then arises: what can be done to rescue society from its crisis of meaning? A Moment is Enough is a glimpse into Shane's inner world, into his fantasies and musings. We learn just how melancholy he is, how introspective he is. We discover his oscillation between 2 ideas of love, sacred love and profane love. And we see this painting from Titian in the film briefly. It's a very mysterious painting. Scholars have disputed what the meaning is. On the right, we have the sacred woman, and on the left, we have the profane woman. We have a woman who symbolizes a love that endures and lasts, and then a woman who symbolizes a love that is ephemeral and fettered to appetites. But there's validity in both worldviews that we see in this film. Shane's worldview, which is oriented towards particular ideals, those of Plato's, and Lillian's worldview, which sees just how unreasonable Shane's ideals are and how unattainable they can be. And here's a photograph of the making of A Moment is Enough. I'm seated at a dolly cart that I made out of hardware store materials. And that's part of the charm of independent filmmaking, learning to make the most out of what you have, to work within restrictions, because ultimately, and this is a quote from John in Poet in a Modern World, limitations offer us unforeseeable possibilities. It was imperative that this proof of concept was shot on 16mm celluloid film. I wanted to familiarize myself with cinema's traditions. Cinema was born on celluloid. I wanted to experience what generations of filmmakers before me had to experience. So people might ask me, well, what intrigued you about 16mm film? And my answer to that question is not its aesthetics, not its beautiful aspects, but its ascetics, its asceticism, the discipline that it demands from a filmmaker. The medium is very fragile to any light, to any handling, and so there's a delicacy that requires everyone involved in the filmmaking process to operate at their utmost. And there's a photograph of the camera with the help of friends, family, and members of the Peoria community. I was able to acquire this wonderful piece of machinery. And this is the budget of Poet in a Modern World. It's going to take $25,000 to film. Most of the money will be allocated to acquiring the raw stock or the unexposed film and processing and scanning that film. Another great portion of the funds will be dedicated to paying the talent. And this is a very small budget in comparison to what it typically takes to make a full-length feature film. Given my experience working with minimal resources, I know with great certainty that this project can be made with $25,000. It's common for young artists to scurry to entertainment capitals and make their projects there. I'd like to make Poet in a Modern World in Peoria. I've chosen Peoria because I've grown up in Peoria. It has a special place in my heart. It's a place where I feel as though I belong and where this film belongs ultimately. There's a wonderful fine arts community and a growing independent filmmaking community. There's a rich history to Peoria. You have beautiful historic buildings. You have the Peoria Riverfront Museum and lovely local businesses and small shops. I don't want to sever my relationship with Peoria. I'd like to sow seeds here. I'd like to see Peoria become something extraordinary. This is a painting by the Russian Romantic painter Ivan Ayvazovsky. It's entitled The Ninth Wave. And the ninth wave in seagoing culture was the most perilous wave after an onset of other dangerous waves. In the painting, you have seamen clinging to a broken mast that's almost symbolic of a cross. Next to them is the ninth wave, and it's almost as if it might just pass them, but there's also the possibility that it could kill them. And in the distance, you have this mysterious celestial light illuminating the night sky. So there's this mysterious quality of hope in the painting. And I thought this was very evocative of the circumstance we find ourselves in. The arid landscape of our present art world thirsts for films of beauty, goodness, truth, and virtue. What is it that draws masses of people to the Sistine Chapel, religious and irreligious alike? What consolation is art when it is comprised of nothing but depravity and ugliness? Amidst the tumult of our times, where silence runs scarce and moral ideals repel, the art we daily encounter must resolve us to say no to the noise, to introspect, to refine the soul, to transfigure our lives. If we as a civilization wish for beauty to prevail, we must continually choose it, to cling to it like the seaman clinging to the mast. I'm not making this film to win some golden idol. It isn't fame and fortune that I seek. I seek to simply make something beautiful, to raise a torch of hope, to remind people of their obligations to one another as spiritual beings, to indicate the necessity of family, tradition, art, and religion. Not only am I making a film, but a movement. Yet this cannot be achieved alone. I encourage others to join this voyage and contribute to the creation of this film. We need talent, resources, and chiefly funding. You may visit the contribution page on the Mourning Films website and find additional information about Poet in a Modern World that hasn't been shared in this video. The proof of concept, A Moment is Enough, is also accessible on the Mourning Films website. I'd like to conclude by reading a passage from T.S. Eliot's East Coker. There is only the fight to recover what has been lost and found, and lost again and again, and now under conditions that seem unpropitious. But perhaps neither gain nor loss. For us, there is only the trying. The rest is not our business. Now is the time to build the alternatives we yearn to see. It is time for the world to return to meaning and choose beauty. So let us choose it together. Thank you for your time.